technically speaking, purple eyes are an actual thing. People have violet eyes. Purple eyes actually do happen in humans. Believe it or not, purple eyes is natural, just very rare, almost non-existent. And every time she goes off about the eyes, I'm reminded that purple eyes are a thing. Violet eyes in humans are a legitimate thing. I ordered these in cyberpunk purple, and they still look more realistic than June's. And now that I'm done giving a giant middle finger to the people trying to justify insanity, or I guess the people who believe that Alexandria's Genesis is a real thing, let's just let them think that. It's funnier that way. The 9 Realms Season 4. If this video goes up when it's supposed to, it will be December 23rd, 2022, aka the 1-year anniversary of the show premiering. And we are now 4 seasons in, which, to be fair, we're only working with 26 episodes in total, and if you want to get technical, Race to the Edge would release 26 episodes per year. But the sheer drop in quality from Race to the Edge to the 9 Realms does not help explain why there are so many episodes being produced. Let's just add it to the mysteries that encapsulate this show. And how did I feel about Season 4? I hated it, thanks for asking. And I get that that's exactly what you were expecting me to say at this point. But if you came to this video assuming that Season 4 was going to be the same meme-filled trash fire that was the previous seasons, you know, excluding Season 1, I guess, where that was just a colossal failure on its own, you'd be interested to hear that this season is a different breed in the absolute worst way possible. Because Season 1 was terrible in the sense that it was the lousiest, laziest excuse for a first impression that they could have given. And Seasons 2 and 3 were kind of in a different category where they're so bad, but you can still laugh at them. In fact, you laugh at them because they're bad. But Season 4 is just depressingly terrible. As much as I absolutely despise Season 1 because it was the catalyst for all of this, Season 4 is easily the worst that this show has to offer. When you hear those words come out of this mouth, you know some shit went down this season. And if I were to summarize all of my feelings towards this new season in a single sentence, it would be, I'm not even mad anymore. I'm just disappointed. Like, my standards were already down here, and they still didn't even... It's bad, guys. I'll get into it. So you know the drill at this point. I'll be getting into some things that I actually did enjoy about the season. Go episode by episode explaining the plot. There are only 6 this time, so not the torture fest it could have been. And break down all the things that they got wrong. There are a lot of them this time around. So this is the point where I say, as always, do not go after or harass any of the people involved in the making of this show. But going deeper into that this time, I need to address something. And please bear with me because I'm gonna get kind of serious for a second. I know this is not a serious get up, I'm sorry. But if you just came here to listen to me make dick jokes and yell at a kid's show, then just skip to the next chapter. Now that my videos, particularly the ones regarding the 9 Realms, get the views that they do, we are not without people who do not agree with our stance, which is that the show, in and of itself, is a slap in the face to the original franchise. And I am not at all talking about the people who like the show for their own reasons. Never once have I said in my videos, or to anyone else who watches the show, that if they enjoy it for reasons that I don't, their opinion is invalid. In fact, I make it a point to say that I am open to hearing their opinions in the comments. I will never delete any differing opinions. Even if you say I'm being overdramatic or getting too worked up about this show, like, that's fine. But it's come to my attention, primarily through Twitter, and through certain people who do not understand that badgering me about their opinion on the show through DMs or the use of other platforms borders on harassment. It's completely acceptable if you think I'm being overdramatic, or that any anger in my videos is unnecessary to get my point across. You have to understand that my videos are supposed to be informative, but also entertaining. The show pisses me off, don't get me wrong, but my anger is over-dramatized in my videos because it's funnier that way. And it would be hypocritical of me to say if you don't like my reviews, then just don't watch them. Just like it's hypocritical of comments who tell me that if I don't like the 9 Realms, I can just not watch that. Because if they truly believe that, then why don't they just apply that logic to my content? But let me explain why I feel justified in picking the show apart the way that I do. DreamWorks is owned by Universal, a multi-billion-dollar studio. And that deal just so happened to go down when the Dragons franchise was getting closer and closer to wrapping up. And Universal came in and said, wait, you can't end that franchise, it makes us money. So despite that franchise being over, they brought in a multitude of people to be overworked and stressed for the next however many years to factory produce this new show, not because they wanted to advance the story, but because it would sell them toys. This is not my opinion. This is what happened. Whichever way you look at it, the 9 Realms was manufactured purely from greed. And this is not to say in any way that the showrunners did not put any of their heart and soul into the show. It's just that they were not given the proper tools to get the job done. So the fact that Universal or DreamWorks, whoever's on top, would not only bring a franchise that defined my upbringing so deep into the shit, but also drag talented, passionate people previously associated with the Dragons franchise down with it, pisses me off to no end. So yes, call me overdramatic and excessive, but what you cannot do in any dignified manner is suggest that I am being unjustly hateful to this show for no good reason. Do you know why these reviews are the longest videos on my channel? It is not because I record myself saying, I hate the show for no reason, I hate the show for no reason, and play it on a loop for 80 minutes. With everything I don't like about the show, I give a well-explained, justified reason as to why I think it's bad. The titles of my videos are not Dragons the Nine Realms is a colossal failure. It's why Dragons the Nine Realms is a colossal failure. Why it's a catastrophe. Why it makes no sense. And again, I want to emphasize that I do not dissuade anyone from speaking out about the fact that they like this show. And to anyone in my audience who sees people like that and bullies them for it, I do not condone that whatsoever. Respectfully disagree with them and move on. John stated publicly that a lot of people show their love for the show through DMs directly towards him, and to that I say they shouldn't be afraid to voice their opinion of the show publicly. But to imply that my opinion of the show, from anyone's part, is just me spouting unjust hate is factually unfounded. Are there people who rat on the show for insignificant reasons? Absolutely. But a lot of them, that isn't the case. My reviews do not get the consistent numbers that they do because every single person likes to just jump on a hate train. People watch them because people agree with me. As much as it may suck to hear for the people who worked on the show for so long, a majority of the fans agree with me, and I try my hardest to make sure that everything I say in my reviews is correct. I started making these reviews when I had 500 subscribers. I've learned a lot over the past year about how my words affect people, and I'm still learning. To claim that I'm spouting hate for this show for no justified reason whatsoever would be factually inaccurate, and so lacking in self-awareness that the validity of the statement itself bears no weight. And with all of that being said, my review is going to continue as normal. And if the rant wasn't enough, I would like to doubly reiterate that going after and harassing anyone who worked on the show or people who enjoy the show is not something I condone. And without further ado, cue the shitty recorder. Take a wild guess as to what I'm about to say. Alex is the queen and she will never be dethroned. Like the last video, I'll be crowning her when appropriate. She's easily the best part of the show and I don't see that changing anytime soon. The next best thing about the new season is one that I kind of joked about happening in my last review, but I think Eugene is actually becoming one of the better characters of the bunch. He's someone that undergoes change, not only in his development from season 3, but also throughout the things that happen in this new season. They still treat him like an obnoxious know-it-all, but I don't think the writers realize how lacking in self-awareness that is. And when I say writers in this video, I'm not saying writers. I'm referring to the people that wrote the show. I have and will continue to refer to these doofuses as anything other than dragon writers to the best of my ability, because the idea that they've earned that title is laughable at best and inarguably untrue at worst. And in terms of what they did with Eugene, it's like they finally have a character with potential to undergo interesting development and change, but they don't even know it, so they just continue to make him a punching bag and focus all their attention on making the other characters sympathetic. And because they don't have the time or skill to do any of that effectively, it fails miserably. And going off Eugene being an actually compelling character this time around, I have to say that episode 2, Uncharted Territory, is the first episode in months that I've enjoyed unironically. I'm very used to making my favorite episode of the season just the ones that are so off the wall stupid that they're funny for all the wrong reasons. And there is still one of those this time around, so don't get disappointed. But of all the episodes I've reviewed over the past year, Season 4, Episode 2 is one that seems the most coherent to actual plot structure and understanding of character arcs. It made me believe for a brief 22 minutes that the writers behind the show had a grasp of what they were doing for once. Only for it to be completely crushed and obliterated by the June-centric Episode 3, which was the most obnoxious, annoying 22 minutes of my whole existence, but it does contain one of the only scenes in the season that made me laugh. The scene where all the characters get high off poison gas was fucking incredible, and the only scrap of that June-centric egocentric nightmare that was at the very least bearable, which is a perfect segue to the biggest plus I can give season 4, and probably the entirety of the show in general. Hold on, I just gotta limber up for a second, crack my knuckles, and wind up to give this show the biggest backhanded compliment in the history of mankind. The best thing season 4 of the Nine Realms did is finally open a vast majority of the audience's eyes to what I've been saying for the past year. And that is the fact that June is a whiny, smug, awful bitch excuse for a main character, and now everyone else thinks so too. Now, this is not to discredit anyone who may relate to her or like her in any capacity, because I know those people exist. It is simply me stating the fact that of all those that I've spoken to and opinions I've read about this new season, an outstanding majority have agreed that she is easily the worst character this show has to offer, and the notion that they try to make her redeemable in any fashion is entirely unearned and hilarious in its own right. So, the Nine Realms writers, I have to give you my greatest, genuinely not sarcastic in any way, thank you for highlighting what I've been saying since season 1. I appreciate it. And a few smaller compliments would be the design of the new realm season 4 takes place in. While the logistics of the ice realm don't make a lot of sense if you put more than 2 seconds of thought into it, the creatures inside and the overall design in general look pretty cool at face value. And this last thing isn't necessarily a compliment, I just kind of personally loved how the writers forgot that D'Angelo was a character this season. This is the first time he doesn't have an episode dedicated to him at all in the collection, and even in the plotlines where he is included, he essentially serves no purpose. And I don't love this because I particularly dislike his character for any reason. I love this because when he is depicted, he just seems so done with life and exhausted to be around the others. And that's very symbolic of how I feel at this point. At least they didn't show him shirtless again. Good Christ. Also, super forced segue, remember that fan art contest I was hosting with Richard Hamilton, co-writer of the How to Train Your Dragon comics? Well, it's being posted simultaneously with this review, so definitely go check it out. We're announcing winners and even giving out prizes for the top places. By the way, does Dean know that we're doing this?
I think so. He might.
He might?
Don't quote me on it.
You know you want to see the canon depiction of shirtless Hiccup, and now there's nothing stopping you. And in the way of doing shoutouts, I want to give a huge thanks once again to Tariel of Mirkwood, whose analysis on the new season is very well done and so expansive that I couldn't incorporate everything in this video. But I do go over a lot of their points throughout the plot rundowns, so please check Tariel out on Twitter if you want to follow a really awesome Dragons fan. But back to the Nine Realms, I'm sad to report that the Magma Chonker does not make a return this season. So that's the biggest sin this show could have committed. Points removed. And that is, unfortunately, all that I have. Now, let's rip this new season off like a band-aid. An hours-long, torturous, gorilla-glued band-aid. Episode 1 is titled Cold Open, and its sole existence is to remind us that Buzzsaw is in fact a character, and their intention is for him to become a compelling villain at some point. Emphasis on intention. The season starts out with Tom attempting to open the locked device they found after the battle with the Sky Torture at the end of season 3, when the Earth magically opened at the right point, so they just so happened to find this millennium-old clue with ties to Tom's family. How lucky is that? It's almost like there's a team of writers behind this, desperately grasping for different ways they can obnoxiously hint to what the audience has already known since season 1. And if that wasn't enough proof for you, check this out.
Better get that thing open. He's been working on it for weeks. It's starting to control every aspect of his life.
Just...
Obsessed.
I'm not obsessed. When's the last time you ate? Breakfast. Yesterday.
I guess Hiccup's obsessive gene was so potent that it carried on through hundreds of ancestors.
Air gel, make the gas canister airtight. Oh, I am getting to work on this thing right away.
And that's the last we'll see of Hiccup this week.
I have a good feeling about this.
What does a good feeling feel like?
Yes! No!
See, if you expect disappointment, you're rarely disappointed.
Alex, you just summed up my entire experience with this show. And that's why you're the queen. So D'Angelo and Eugene say that they're going off to check on the dragons who were injured in the Sky Torture battle. I guess the writers forgot that one episode ago they put in this line.
Can't believe we pulled that off. And without hurting a single dragon.
Ugh, writing television is hard. There's so much to keep track of. How was I supposed to know what we wrote an episode ago? It's not like there's a streaming platform I can go to watch the episodes that we already produced before we start working on these new ones. Oh wait.
So, big D.
Please, for the love of Chris Hansen, never call him that again. Funny enough, this won't be the last time I'll be violently side-eyeing Eugene's age difference from the other kids, but more on that later.
I think we might bump into one of those angry tornado dragons.
You mean a typhoomerang? Oh, that's right, this show completely forgot all lore surrounding the original franchise and made it so that razor whips create tornadoes. Because in the 9 realms, if it makes sense, you're doing it wrong. And while they go off, Alex points out that her magical tablet is picking up unusually cold temperatures from the sinkhole that we saw at the end of season 3. It's never mentioned why the kids know about this. The only mention of it to them was a one-off line from Olivia to Tom in the final episode of season 3. Oh, and that's another thing. In regards to how much time has passed between seasons, you'll be thrilled to know that I took all the quotes from the characters discussing such into account, and the results are, let's see, a few days here, weeks were mentioned, carry the 2, aha! The answer is, I have no fucking idea, neither does anyone else. The passage of time in these shows is never something I've been able to grasp. It'd be unfair of me to critique the 9 realms alone for this, considering Race to the Edge was supposed to take place within the span of, I'm pretty sure, 1 year?
How many adventures have we been on in the last year?
But the sheer amount of times the characters mention weeks or months passing is kind of hilarious if you add it all up. Besides, why worry about material things like that when this show is finally ready to transform from fun kids action adventure to body horror?
And you're coming.
I'd really love to join, but I...
Okay, yeah, please never fucking do that again. Holy shit. If I ever actually saw these animated abominations look at me like this, I would gouge out my eyes with a fire poker. What if someone with that creepy of an eye color did that to you? Be pretty fucked up, wouldn't it? Cut to Olivia in the laboratory, and who'd have guessed it? She's also stupidly obsessed over the crystals we found literally 2 seasons ago. I guess this isn't a huge leap. After all, she was talking to it in the last season.
And what secrets do you hold?
But at least before, you could laugh at her apparently getting paid to jerk off in the forest talking to rocks. This time, she just looks like a pissed off Sims character who can't perform a command because there's something small and easily maneuverable in the way. Anyways, cut to Tom and the others at the sinkhole. Just get used to the kids being able to sneak off with absolutely no consequences or explanation as to how they're able to get away with it, at least for now. But the stuff that you think is going to be a problem, like the base's security systems or the adults remembering at any point that they have children, is never an issue, because Alex has a magic tablet that disables any and all problems and supplies the adults with all the ketamine they can OD on. Realistically, if the adults at this base wanted to figure out what was behind their daily system hacks, all they would have to do is trace her IP. Unless she had, you know, the use of a VPN or something. Phew. That's better. This video is sponsored by Atlas VPN. Developed by top cybersecurity specialists and IT engineers in 2019, Atlas VPN was created to make the internet accessible and secure for everyone. With the use of Atlas's top-tier VPN security, bodies such as hackers, advertisers, and internet service providers will be barred from viewing and manipulating your personal data. And Atlas has a ton of global servers for you to connect to, keeping your IP address safe and hidden as you browse the web. And that's just one of their useful features. Atlas also offers tracker blocking and connection to international streaming. My experience with Atlas has been a lifesaver recently, since the Karens at Netflix decided to remove Dragons 1 and 2 from the US service. But let's say I decided to up and travel to France for, you know, the duration of the average American animated film runtime or 2. Look how easy that was. Shove it, Karen. And in celebration of the holidays, using my custom link in the description, Atlas is offering their premium service for 85% off, meaning you can get it for just $1.70 a month, 3 years, plus 6 months free using my link in the description. Thank you all so much for watching the ad, and thank you to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video.
There's nothing around here but hatchet marks on the trees. And lavender-scented moisturizing lotion?
Okay, look, when I constantly point out that the characters do nothing but jerk off in this show, I didn't actually mean it literally. But I guess now we know what Buzzsaw was up to the entire time he was stalking around the forest last season. Thanks for clarifying that, of all things. So the 3 of them decide to go get their dragons to explore the mysteriously cold sinkhole. Meanwhile, Eugene and D'Angelo banter to fill up runtime.
Tom has a connection none of us understand. He's the Dragon Whisperer.
Since fucking when? The only significant thing Tom has done is be the first person to interact with the dragons as a whole. And due to that very minimal knowledge, he helped the others train dragons, kind of, but they were still doing most of the work themselves. At what point in the past 3 seasons has he proven himself to have a special way with dragons like Hiccup did, which is clearly what you're trying to imply? If anything, he's the worst of them because he literally had an entire episode dedicated to him quote-unquote abusing a dragon, where the other kids shamed him for feeding a monstrous nightmare in exchange for it performing an action. This may seem insignificant, but it perfectly highlights one of this show's biggest flaws. It doesn't drive the story forward by the characters actually doing things and undergoing development, because that takes time and talent and a thorough understanding of plot structure. Instead, this show would rather the characters just say that things are a certain way without showing any physical proof of that thing, and hopefully the 7-year-olds watching it won't put any brain power into realizing that those things never actually happened. But Audrey, it's a show made for 7-year-olds. Why wouldn't they put that little effort into it? I seriously hope this goes without saying, but just because it's a show made for young children doesn't mean it isn't held to the same standards as properties like How to Train Your Dragon, or the shows from the original franchise that had actual depth. Maybe it's unfair of me to compare the 9 Realms to something as amazing as the original story, except no, it isn't. It would be if the 9 Realms was not tied to and therefore using the original franchise for monetary gain. But here we are, aren't we? So Tom, June, and Alex go down the sinkhole and discover the entrance to the Ice Realm, a new territory with some really decent leeway to introduce cool new dragons. And while the designs of the creatures in the new biome is creative in and of itself, it also doesn't make much sense. The logistics of the realms is something I've been trying to wrap my head around since season 1, and I'll be getting more into it later, but just try to pay attention to how expansive this new world is and how not geographically far it must be from where they started. Anyways, if your memory does not fail you, you'll remember that Buzzsaw fell into the Ice Realm at the end of season 3 and has been living there ever since. How has he been doing that exactly? Oh, you know, just by trapping and eating dragons. That is not me being spiteful, sarcastic Audrey whatsoever. That's actually what's implied.
Got another one! What's for dinner tonight?
So he traps and almost kills Thunder, but he gets away after like a whole 40 seconds of conflict.
Thunder, Feathers, Wu Wei, hide!
Are you all that dumb? Thunder I would expect that from, and Feathers is an introverted mess like Alex. But I think Wu and Wei have been spending far too much time with June. So the kids find Buzzsaw, who lies about his identity.
I'm Keith.
Not 100% sure why, considering there's no reason these kids would recognize his actual name, but okay. And I guess their plan to keep the dragons away is fucked also, because after 2 minutes they just freely admit that dragons are in fact a thing and they ride them.
No. I can't fly anywhere until my broken leg's immobilized.
Sounds like a job for Dr. D.
He's probably still in the Crystal Realm.
I'll go track him down.
Yes, June. Leave Tom and Alex alone with one another. As a matter of fact, just fly to the other end of the earth and never come back. Tom Alex for the win. Also, I get that I'm going overboard with this stupid ship, but it's really hilarious how much of the audience for this show agrees with me. Which, yes, my viewers are 100% biased at this point, but the fact that 3,000 people voted and the ratio is that insane leaves any and all future attempts at making June the Astrid stand-in even more laughable than before. That's saying something. So while June's away, Alex tries to convince Tom that the hobo they just found is full of it, but he brushes her off because nobody listens to the girl in fucking glasses.
Property of Leonard, Burn Lumber Company. I thought his name was Keith. Thanks for letting me borrow your hatchet, Leonard.
No problem.
Fucking really? Oh, so that's this show's approach for writing antagonists. I've yet to figure it out until now, but I guess that's their strategy. Just make the villains so unbelievably stupid that their decisions don't make any sense. And the reason they don't make sense is because they're so unbelievably stupid, so the audience can't question them. A flawless system.
Some drop bomb loogies, and Wu and Wei shoot steam.
And Feathers has a sonic blast that will blow your soul right out of your body. Wanna see?
So June makes it to Eugene and D'Angelo while we get the closest thing to a Tom Alex moment in the whole season.
Finally.
And anyways, they leave Thunder with Buzzsaw, but it turns out to be a trap. I'm having a hard time understanding why Thunder doesn't just electroblast Buzzsaw off the face of the earth. That would solve a lot of issues for them, but nope.
Your head is going to look simply divine over my fireplace.
Come on, DreamWorks. Now you aren't even trying to hide the fact that Buzzsaw is just a dagger ripoff.
I don't care about sporting. I care about killing that Night Fury and wearing its skull as a helmet.
It's over, Leonard.
Only my mother calls me Leonard. The name's Buzzsaw!
Oh, shit! Stop!
And then we get this big climactic scene that I thought was going to be reminiscent of Animal House's Hickstrid moment, but no. Then the others come to their rescue and Buzzsaw runs off into the ice realm, I guess, but not before delivering the classic "I'll be back" line.
This isn't over. You can count on that.
We looked all over, but that crazy guy is still in the dragon world. All dragons are in danger.
And if we find him and bring him back to the real world, he'll tell everyone the secret.
Listen, I applaud this episode for actually attempting to set up conflict that will be prevalent throughout the rest of the season and possibly the series in whole, but it's kind of ruined by the fact that there are a million solutions to this problem that they are not using. You could track him down, strip him of his hunting utilities, and just leave him in the ice realm with no means of survival. You could capture him, fly him to some remote part of the forest and leave him there, then seal off the ice realm with rocks before he has a chance to tell anyone about the dragons. There's evidence later in the season to suggest that they can reach the ice realm through a different channel in the hidden world and not directly through the sinkhole, so its existence is pointless anyways. And even when Buzzsaw does tell people about the dragon world, nobody's gonna listen to this freak. Olivia and Sledbitch didn't at the end of season 3.
Wait, what did he say? What kid?
Olivia, he's a nut. Let's go.
Or you could just kidnap him, lock him in a cell for several weeks, and then kill him via peanut allergy. What I'm trying to say is that you have options here, you just aren't using them. But it doesn't actually matter because Buzzsaw doesn't even play a real part in this season at all. He only makes a reappearance in episode 4, which is the particular episode of this season that's my favorite so bad it's hilarious entry. And so Eugene fills them in off screen about who Buzzsaw is, and absolutely no one gets onto him for withholding that valuable piece of information that could have put them in grave danger. I mean, of all the things that they get onto him about, that one would actually be justified. But instead they just treat him like he has the mind of an infant most of the time. Quality screenwriting, everyone.
If I've learned anything from today, Eugene, it's that obsessions can lead to a very unhappy life.
Wow, what a horrible excuse for a moral lesson. But hey, speaking of obsession, we end with Olivia morphing into Walter White again, except this time she heats the crystal up to Jesus Christ, 6,000 Kelvin? The surface of the sun is 5,700 Kelvin. Olivia would be fucking dead.
Oh, that's hot.
But hey, I'm no scientist. What the fuck do I know? Except someone who is. I mean, my dad taught college chemistry, so like I hope he knows what he's talking about. I showed him this scene in particular and asked if that level of heat is something easily attainable in laboratories without any more protection and protocol. And he told me that the most heat-resistant glass in the world, borosilicate, has a melting point of 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and 6,000 Kelvin is over 10,000 Fahrenheit. Good God. Aside from that, I asked him what would happen to a human standing that close to it, and he said, given that they're clearly using radiation to heat the crystal and not fire, the best case scenario is Olivia gets a bad sunburn. And when I asked him what the worst case scenario was, he said Kentucky Fried Chicken. So that's pretty funny. Episode 2 is titled Uncharted Territory, and yes, Nathan Drake just died somewhere. Like I stated in the stuff I liked portion of this review, Episode 2 is one that I actually enjoyed for the reasons the show wanted me to enjoy it, which is a rarity for this series. The episode starts off with Tom and the kids exploring the ice realm in search of Buzzsaw and the key to the dragon box Tom's so obsessed with. Not my term, it's stated in the show. Although I still think mysterious dildo is a more appropriate term, and for those of you asking, bad dragon is a thing. Moving on, Alex starts pressuring the group to turn around because there's a big storm approaching. Underground. But Tom forces them to keep moving because he's a reckless idiot with no regard for anyone's well-being. At least that's what this episode is telling me.
That storm's coming in hot.
I think you mean coming in cold. You see what I did there?
Stop talking.
So while Alex and Eugene wait outside, the others explore an ice cave and June rambles on about finding a Yeti.
This looks like fur?
I knew this cave was feeling squatchy.
Really? To me it looks like a lazily rendered texture with the ability to clip through solid ice. Anyways, when Alex and Eugene come inside to warn the others of the worsening storm, they return to find that Feathers and Webmaster are now missing in the blizzard. And even though the conflict of this episode was painstakingly slow to start, no thanks to a certain someone, this is the point where it begins exploring the reason I believe it to be the best of the season, and possibly the show in general. Because after a brief search, Tom says that it's for the better of the group if they leave before the realm gets too dangerous and pick up the search tomorrow. Obviously, Eugene and Alex are not happy to hear this, and they're absolutely in the right. But do you want to know the real interesting thing? The 9 Realms goes somewhere it's never gone before, because Tom's rationale is understandable too.
Wow.
Even though Alex and Eugene have every right to be angry over the fact that the reason their dragons are lost in the storm to begin with is because of Tom ignoring their warnings from earlier, it now puts him in the position where he has to make a decision that's for the best of the remaining dragons. And yes, any viewer or potential hater of this show who picks apart every single detail, what are you looking at? Would find it easy to say that if Tom were in their shoes and Thunder was missing, there would be no debate over whether or not they'd stay to find the dragons. But the great thing is, we don't have to make that critique because the characters actually come to that realization themselves.
If it was Wu and Wei or Thunder that was lost, you think we would have come racing back home?
No way.
And this eventually leads to the conflict coming full circle, because through the actions or inactions of Tom, in whichever way you look at it, it leads Alex and Eugene to bond over the feelings of worry they have for their missing dragons. 2 characters that had otherwise never been shown to see eye to eye. And it's through this bond that they gain the confidence to take the situation into their own hands, leading to the others finding them, and we have an actual meaningful confrontation in this show.
Look, we agreed.
No, we didn't agree.
You guys just decided for us! I knew I messed up by keeping us out there too long searching for the Dragon Box key. When I saw how bad the storm had gotten...
You wanted to make sure we all got back okay.
Are you starting to see why this type of confrontation scene works infinitely better than Season 3's premiere? Remember when Tom was shunned by the other kids for feeding a monstrous nightmare in exchange for it breathing fire to test their fire suit's durability?
We have to get it right so
He's not a machine, Tom. He's not a tool you can feed fish to and then use. He's an emotional being.
That was a fruitless, shallow, meaningless conflict that was resolved a little over halfway through the episode. In Uncharted Territory, Tom clearly made a mistake by not listening to Alex's warnings in the beginning, and he acknowledges this, saying that they'll go find Feathers and Webmaster as a team once the pair hold them accountable.
I didn't look at the problem from every angle. Let's make it right and go find Feathers and Webmaster. As a team.
So let's break this down. The conflict of this episode has a multifaceted effect. It forces the main character to self-reflect, bonds 2 characters who were otherwise adversaries up until this point, and provides a sensible moral for this episode, being that looking at things from all perspectives is important, especially in a team dynamic. All 3 of these effects result in character development, thus driving the narrative forward in a natural way that will impact the decisions characters make in the far future. Aside from all that, the banter between Alex and Eugene is actually pretty wholesome as the episode plays out.
What are you doing out here at this hour?
Wondering when you would finally get around to doing your job. Isn't that right, Miss Gonzalez?
You are quite the scam artist, Eugene.
Master scam artist. Don't undersell it.
The characters genuinely have nice chemistry, and they were able to play off one another in fun ways.
Any chance you can use your nerd powers to fix my grades?
There aren't enough nerd powers in the world for that.
I know a lot of people immediately following the season were going off about how crazy it was that they were pushing a Eugene and Alex ship out of nowhere, but in my opinion, their bonding during Uncharted Territory didn't feel like it was going in that direction. To me, it felt more akin to A Tale of Two Dragons from Defenders of Berk, where Astrid and Snotlout are tasked to bond with one another's dragons as a way to get them to walk in each other's shoes after Hiccup can't get the 2 of them to stop fighting, which isn't too similar to the conflict here, but more so in the way that it brings two characters who seem like opposites together in a unique and believable way. I also think a lot of the romantic tension people were feeling from this just has to do with the fact that there's actual chemistry between two characters in this show for once, and because that never happens ever in this show, people just attributed it to romance.
I just want you to know, you're not so bad. I'm really glad you joined the Dragon Riders.
And even though I call you a super nerd behind your back, I always meant it in a good way.
So yeah, once I finished episode 2, I had zero inkling that they were actually pushing a romance between these two, and it was meant to be strictly platonic. And I will leave the biggest pin in the world in that until a short but insanely suggestive moment in a later episode obliterates everything I just said. Another great thing about episode 2 would be that we actually have some nice dialogue-free scenes with Feathers and Webmaster, who, like their writers, were adversaries at the start of the episode, but grew to bond and trust one another in their time lost in the Ice Realm. And I guess the dragon they battled at the end of the episode after finding Feathers and Webmaster in the Ice Cave had a pretty cool design, although this is the point where we descend into some of the things I didn't like about the episode. I really wish there could have been more payoff with the scenes of Webmaster and Feathers alone in the hidden world. Like, the two of them accidentally discover a cool defensive strategy that combines both of their abilities independent of their riders, and in the climax they use it against the Yeti dragon. I think it would have made those dialogue-free scenes even more impactful and also give flair to what is a genuinely really lackluster fight scene. Everything happening with the characters who aren't Tom, Alex, and Eugene is completely meaningless. Huge surprise there. And then there's the last 45 seconds of this episode that I literally refuse to talk about until we get to the next in the season because it's that stupid. But overall, I'm actually gonna say it. Uncharted Territory was a very useful addition to the Nine Realms narrative. It provided us with a multifaceted conflict and allowed us to see things from the angles of all the characters involved, which was the message of the episode. And this resulted in genuine character development in a manner that drives the story forward. Episode 2? You impressed me, and finally took advantage of time and potential that I've yet to see from this series. Wow, I actually feel pretty good about this show for once. Episode 3 is titled Journey to the Snowcano, and it is my 13th reason. The entire plot revolves around June trying to help Wu and Wei when they appear, especially weekend after a battle, which wouldn't seem like such a terrible plot if the word June wasn't involved, but here we are. I know I exaggerate my anger in 99% of these reviews, but when I tell you this is the most annoying, hard to get through episode in what is probably all 4 seasons combined, I do not put that lightly. The episode starts out with the kids attempting to chase off a group of flamethrower dragons out of the Crystal Realm back to the Fire Realm, I guess.
We've almost chased them back to the Fire Realm.
These are the only Fire Realm dragons we see at all this season. In fact, the Fire Realm is never shown or even mentioned, really. Remember the realm we spent all of last season exploring for some reason that's never brought up? The suits they spent the entire first half of last season perfecting are never seen, and absolutely nothing that happened last season seems to matter. But anyways, Eugene fucks up and almost gets killed, but Wu and Wei step in to battle the flamethrowers away for an abnormally long time, which leaves them exhausted. Kind of like me.
Nice job, June.
And where the hell were you? Tom was right beside her in this shot, but for some reason didn't step in to help Wu and Wei. Guess he just couldn't be bothered. Cut to the kids back at the dragon lair, and Tom is reading from the book of dragons he got from the locked dragon box. Huh? Yeah, remember when I said I was waiting to talk about the very ending of episode 2 until this episode because it was so stupid and out of place and did not belong in something actually good? Well, at the end of Uncharted Territory, Tom does the classic children's animated show rendition of saying the moral out loud.
Definitely looked at this thing from every angle. Oh, it can't be.
Alright, I guess. I mean, I do prefer this to them dicking around all season searching for a key in the ice realm, but the fact that this happened by pure accident is pretty hilarious. But not as hilarious as the fact that the key shouldn't be able to work at all because they forgot to mirror the fucking model of the strike class symbol. This does not align with this, you fucking lazy idiots. And also, was this all they needed to open the box? They could have carved a piece of wood into this shape and opened it with no problem. And how fucking stupid is it that Hiccup left the only key to this dragon box hidden in a family heirloom that could easily be destroyed or misplaced over the centuries the box was hidden underground? How is this the course of events that transpired? The showrunners actually think this is a plausible or even conceivable idea? What the hell was that conversation 1300 years ago? Hey Astrid, I know we went to all this trouble to write about the dragons and our tribal history in this book that we'll be hiding underground, but instead of hiding the key somewhere people can actually find it, let's just pass it down between our grandkids and give them no context as to what it's for. But what's the point of keeping it in our family, Hiccup? If we wanted only our family to know about the dragons one day, shouldn't we just pass the book down as well? Well, I guess you're right. I mean, what are the chances that our ancestors 1,000 years in the future will be at the perfect spot in the world at the perfect time and find specifically Toothless's descendant and fight alongside him in the perfect place to where the earth opens perfectly to reveal the dragon box, and they still have the heirloom Viking helmet in perfect condition to unlock the box and read about our history? You know, on second thought, those chances sound pretty good. Let's do it. Oh, and you might be asking how I know it was Hiccup specifically that left all of this. Well, this is how.
I wonder if I'm related to any of these people. I wonder if I'm related.
Oh my god. Okay, so I was expecting this to happen at some point, but I was not expecting to feel this nauseated. Okay. I'm about to brush a lot of shit under the rug. Like the fact that this is nothing but an art assistant's tweaked line drawings of the original Six's concept art from various movies and shows. And the fact that they made Hiccup look like an emo scene kid again. And the fact that the runes in this book, from what I can see here, aren't even spelling their names correctly. Brushing all of that smelly, disgusting, messy diarrhea under the rug. None of this even matters because they don't translate any of this, and there is never a point in the season, aside from a moment in the final episode that also goes nowhere, where they figure out who the people depicted in the book are. So what was the fucking point? I do not want to read a single comment that says, well, in future seasons they're going to fuck the future of this show. You cannot drop this on us and leave us without answers. And I don't mean that in a, oh, this is so cool, I can't wait to hear what happens next kind of way. I mean that in a how fucking dare you kind of way. And remember in my trailer reaction when I said that June was going to be the one to translate the book? And June is going to be the one who translates it because she's interested in ancient civilizations. They almost do this, but she's too distracted to actually do it.
June, can you read runes? June?
Guys, they aren't getting better.
Which would be fine until the conflict with Wu and Wei is resolved, but it never happens after the fact. June doesn't even look at the book this season unless she's telling Tom to shove it up his ass, which is what a majority of the rest of this episode is. When Wu and Wei don't get better following the attack earlier, June gets understandably worried and starts talking about a Chinese myth her father used to tell her about a Dragon King.
The Dragon King had 4 dragon sons who caused so much trouble and got him so upset that he lost his magical breath.
And, hear me out everyone, this could be a compelling way to integrate her love of mythology into the story. If the others were completely in the dark about how to help her dragon, but she chooses to trust their instinct with the guidance of the myths she was told as a child, it would be a good way to show the others that her passion can have real use, even if it isn't direct. In saying it out loud like that, it's very clear that that's what the writer of this episode thought they were achieving. There is the biggest but in the world coming. This episode has real potential for the show to finally turn June as a character around for me. But there are not adequate words in the English language to describe how badly this episode fucks all of that up and only reaffirms why June is the worst character in the show. So an out-of-control Wu and Wei lead everyone to the ice realm in a particular mountain, and June says this.
In the Dragon King myth, one of the king's sons went west and climbed the highest mountain he could to ask the gods for help.
But it's immediately counteracted by Tom opening the dragon book and pointing out that there's a depiction of the exact same mountain with signs of danger.
I'm not sure how the myth ends, but according to this book, whatever's on the mountain isn't good.
Don't worry, I have another rant planned for this much later. Let's just take one train wreck at a time. But because June decides to trust Wu and Wei's instincts, they go to the mountainside anyways, but are deterred from reaching the top due to severe winds that put them all in grave danger. And Tom, once again, points out something depicted in the Dragon Book. It is becoming very clear that the book is warning them of the dangers, and given that the book was made by people who clearly explored the Hidden Realms before, they should probably listen.
To me, it's about keeping us safe and what's best for the team.
Wu and Wei are part of the team.
Why are you the way that you are?
Okay, alright, fine. So Wu and Wei, still following their instincts, ignore the group and attempt to climb the treacherous slope to the top anyways.
Shields us from the winds.
It's almost like, oh, I don't know, like they knew.
Bro, shut the fuck up.
I am the sea, calm and wide, my sense of peace comes from the inside. Okay, Tom reiterates that he's only trying to keep the group safe and that paying attention to a book written by the only humans to have explored this territory in history might be a good idea, but he's ignored and June almost gets them killed, to which Eugene saves their asses and doesn't even get a thank you from his sister, whose life he just saved.
I think someone deserves a little bit of credit for saving your sorry butts.
Thank you, Webmaster.
You're a dick.
And once they're safe, Tom mentions that the next depiction on the mountain in the book is a skull surrounded by ominous smoke.
I don't see any skulls. Do you? Guess your book doesn't know everything.
You don't want to be like this. This is disgusting. This is awful in every way. If I could kill it, I would. But I legally can't. But I've considered it. Okay, so the two of them argue over what they should trust more, the book written by the only people who have explored this very treacherous territory, or June's myth. Yes, those are words in the script that are not meant to be taken ironically. It is treated as a serious conflict.
Funny coming from someone who looks for answers in a 1,000-year-old myth.
Maybe I'm forgetting, but isn't that book also 1,000 years old?
June, we should heed the guidance of the people who explored the Dragon Realms before us. I mean, we literally found this book in the hidden world.
Fuck you, Tom. My dad told me a bedtime story.
But anyways, this leads to the only redeeming quality of this episode, and that is the scene where children get high.
What's going on?
Whoa.
Poison gas? I am ready.
But Eugene wasn't running. He was lying on his face.
Thunder. Do something.
And by sheer dumb luck and their dragons pulling them out of danger again, they wake up at the top of the mountain. Tom is very justifiably angry and despite wanting to help Wu and Wei, believes it's best to turn back.
In the legend, there's a lake. And this... well... we're pretty far from any lakes.
Why are you so dead set on believing that story?
You think you're the first to tell me I'm crazy for believing in myths? They helped guide my grandmother and my father. Myths are a part of who I am, and I can't just ignore that.
If you really believe, we're behind you.
I have been on this earth for 22 years. I know I'm just a tiny little irrelevant YouTuber who doesn't know the first thing about how life works, but I can assure you this. I, Audrey Greywind, have encountered shit stain after shit stain after shit stain excuses for human beings through my years. And I have never, in my fucking life,
wanted to Sparta dropkick a human being off the side of a 1,000-foot cliff, sending them to their unavoidable death more than this arrogant, self-righteous, fictional bitch. Oh, and I guess this is the part where I mentioned that it turns out June was right for trusting the myth all along because Tom was just a dumbass that didn't realize there was a third page of the book that depicted a Titan Wing mist twister, which is nothing but a fake-out adversary for the last 5 minutes until we discover that there's a sanctuary inside the mountain and Wu and Wei are healed. Proving that Tom should have ignored the interpretations of the Dragon Book altogether and trusted the intuition of the girl who almost got them killed multiple times.
Guess the Vikings didn't know everything, huh?
Shut your fucking mouth!
You want to know the best part? All of this is treated as a good thing.
Good thing Wu and Wei have you, and you always have faith in them.
9 Realms writers, I'm done talking about you. I am now just going to ask outright, what happened during the screenwriting phase of this episode for June's character to have a quote-unquote redeeming monologue and pay off this level of forced and unearned? I hate the bitch, and even I have to ask, why do you constantly fuck over June's character this hard? You did the same thing in season 3 with It Flies in the Family, and now I'm convinced you're either forced to write this episode over your 15-minute lunch break, or you're just tripping balls on your own poison gas and you actually believe this to be a genuine character arc. It would have been a different story entirely if June was depending solely on Wu and Wei's instincts over the Dragon Book, but that isn't what happens at all. They act like her ancient Chinese myth somehow ties into their instincts, and they give her a few throwaway lines, but the payoff at the end of the episode isn't that they should learn to trust their dragons over the knowledge from over 1,000 years ago. It's that they should have trusted June's delusion that, once again, almost got them killed the entire time and not questioned her very questionable justifications. What exactly was I supposed to feel during her monologue?
Myths are a part of who I am, and I can't just ignore that.
June, shut the fuck up!
How do you actually screw up this badly? Fucking fine. At the very least, Tom learned to listen to his team while still at least holding a great respect for the ancient book of guidance, right? You know what? I can't believe I'm about to say this. Maybe Tom and June do deserve each other. I vote that when they eventually become a couple, we handcuff them together and let June drag him to the top of this mountain again. Except there are no dragons to save them when June gets them killed. The others seal off the entrance to the Ice Realm and we never say their names again. I'm done talking about this piece of shit. I don't even think it's worthy of the title episode. As far as I'm concerned, it was just an awful nightmare that never existed and I want it off my screen and off my fucking timeline. Now play the next episode before I crush my monitor with a baseball bat. Episode 4 is titled The Decoy, and thank fucking Christ it is bad in the sense that you can laugh at its absurdity. It's also the only time Buzzsaw makes a reappearance in the season, although he's mentioned like once in the final 2-parter, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. The Decoy starts out with Buzzsaw trapping yet another dragon in the Ice Realm to slaughter and eat.
A little Himalayan pink salt smoked low and slow over some apple wood. You might taste pretty good.
Surprise, motherfucker! Oh my god!
And then we cut to the scientific laboratory where Olivia is giving the kids a tour because apparently they've never been to this part of the facility. Like Alex and June sneaking in last season aside, do the kids have no idea what their parents are doing at any given time? I mean, we know that's true with the adults having no idea what the kids are doing, but don't you all live in the same place? Oh, I get it. This is where you're storing all the excess ketamine. I'd want to hide that from my children too.
The Gonzaleses are studying a specimen we recently discovered deep in in the fissure.
I love how much of a non-issue the adults have become in this show. They just admitted to discovering something in the very location where the dragons are hidden and nobody flinches, which, if you want to get technical, this episode is actually the first time in the past 4 seasons that Olivia remembers that she gave birth to a human being 14 years ago and thinks to question where he disappears to 99% of the time. In the middle of a foreign wilderness surrounded by treacherous cliffs and hatchet-wielding chronic masturbators. Good job. I'm proud of you. You did Mom good. Of the year. Hey, is that scene in episode 1 where she torches the crystal with the heat of the surface of the sun brought up again? Nope. Then why did they... I really need to stop assuming that this show knows that it's a television show and that things that happen are supposed to matter in some way.
I mean, you found another piece of that crystal stuff. That's so cool.
Ew, look at that fucking face June's making. Cool... Yeah, this is what her face is gonna look like after I'm done beating her with a golf club.
Anyways, everyone rushes off to the ice realm after Alex announces that her sensors are going off.
But my sensors are going off in the ice realm.
I don't even know what the fuck that means. Are they sensing movement? Body heat? The scent of lavender? And when they get there, they free a dragon from one of Buzzsaw's traps and find his camp where there's dishware and extra clothing sitting around. Things he certainly didn't have when he fell into the ice realm out of pure coincidence. I guess he's been climbing out somehow? How did he do that? Why aren't they treating that as a more serious problem? And also, it's way past time I start picking apart how the logistics of the ice realm are laughably nonsensical. In the episode that shall not be named, we saw the characters travel to the top of a fucking mountain with plenty of sky above them. Is the drop from ground level to the bottom of the sinkhole bigger than a mountain? It doesn't look like it. There's no way they traveled thousands of feet downwards in this tunnel. Although that would be admittedly one of the best things this show could have done in terms of reintroducing the character. Can you imagine if the season started out with Tom and the others finding Buzzsaw's crushed, decomposing corpse at the bottom of the sinkhole after falling in at the end of season 3? What a missed opportunity. You know, you could have just fixed this problem by having the sinkhole's entrance come out at the top of a high point in the ice realm rather than it being at ground level. It's not like that would make the place more of an obstacle to explore considering they ride flying fucking reptiles around. But that's not even the goofiest part, because in this episode we also see that there's sunset in the ice realm. Look, weather systems I can suspend my disbelief, but sunset? Did DreamWorks forget to relay to the foreign company hired to model and animate this new realm that it's set underground? I mean, it's clear that they did this for lighting purposes, but why is there a sunrise and sunset? Let's see. We have to figure out a way to light this new realm authentically. Well, we already used crystals in that first realm and lava in the other. What's left? Fuck it, there's no time for creative thinking. Just light it as if it's on the surface world. No one will notice. But anyways, the characters discover Buzzsaw's collection of trapped dragons in cages. Made of ice. Trapping fire-breathing dragons in cages made of frozen water. Makes sense to me. But fine, I'll suspend my disbelief again and assume that since these dragons are in the ice realm, they don't breathe fire. Despite them just being the average terrible terror with frozen What the fuck? So Buzzsaw finds them, and they see that the dragon call they thought they heard earlier was coming from a whistle that he built, I guess. And we also see that he managed to capture and manipulate a timberjack while in the ice realm. And at face value, that's a really great dragon to incorporate into the story. Timberjacks have been essentially ignored throughout the entire franchise, other than being depicted in the background of the films, but I always saw them as a missed opportunity since their induction in movie 1.
Timberjack. This gigantic creature has razor-sharp wings that can slice through full-grown trees.
And given their ability, pairing one with Buzzsaw, who's known for being the head of a logging company, is really clever. That's the last compliment I'm going to give this episode because the rest of it is the dumbest thing I've ever witnessed. So the next 2 minutes are the characters attempting to get away from the timberjack Buzzsaw is controlling using his whistle. Because he hasn't bonded or trained the dragon, he's only holding it hostage to do his bidding. Keep in mind that it's tied to the ground with a not super lengthy rope, so it shouldn't be able to move around much, if at all. And also bear in mind that it's a timberjack, a dragon whose ability is having wings sharp enough to slice through full-grown trees, but it It can't cut through that rope to free itself. Nah, that's some sturdy rope. And it also can't. As a dragon this big, it can't pull that teeny little stake out of the ground. Oh, so bad it's laughable, Nine Realms. I have missed you. So Tom tries to come up with a plan to free the dragons without hurting them, which involves stealing the whistle.
He's probably blown it, which means I'm gonna have to go in and rescue him.
Tom has a plan, and he'll let us know when we need to do our part.
Okay, so I've been kind of skimming over this so far, but there's been a running gag for the entirety of the season where Eugene goes on about how much better the team would be if he were the leader over Tom.
Shouldn't the Dragon Riders have a real leader that's more like, I don't know, me? Under my leadership, I'll elevate the Dragon Riders to true hero status. Ladies and gentle dragons, our fearless leaders!
And I get this is supposed to be a joke, but am I the only one who thinks he's absolutely fucking right? Tom has proven to be nothing but a reckless dumbass for 4 seasons now. Why is Eugene taking over treated as a joke?
This kid screws up left and right and I get passed over?
I mean, of everyone in the group, he's saved their asses more than anyone this season. I just find it really funny how the showrunners are treating his character as if he's snot-lout level arrogant, when in reality, he's the one who ends up making the most sense. Which is pretty fitting for the screenwriters at this point, so I guess it checks out. And if you did not need another indication that everything I'm saying is right, hey look, Tom fucks up. Who on God's earth could have seen this coming? Also, smaller dragons I get, but there's no reason Thunder can't electroblast these icicles and free themselves. And even if that would be dangerous for Tom, why can't he just ram it? It's frozen water. But no, Tom's genius solution is to instead get Buzzsaw's attention by mocking him because he can't fly dragons. And Buzzsaw wants to be the king of dragons out of absolutely nowhere.
I'm laughing because you call yourself the king of dragons, but
But what?
You can't even ride a dragon!
And then because I don't actually understand anything that's happening at this point, your guess is as good as mine. Buzzsaw tells Tom to teach him to fly dragons, and Tom agrees. So now, let's examine this. Tom's plan was to go in, free the trapped dragons with no backup, then got trapped himself, and now his solution is to mock the psychotic murderer holding him hostage, which leads to him teaching the psychotic murderer how to tame and therefore use dragons for his own gain, which he can at any point in the future use against the good guys. But no. Eugene's the one who doesn't make any sense. This would be like Hiccup and Maces and Talons going, "Hey Vigo Grimborn, I know you're the leader of a dragon hunting empire, but what if to buy my friends time, I taught you how to tame and conquer dragons for yourself? There's no way someone with your power would ever use that knowledge against us." One of these central plots in the Cartoon Network series were the villains in the show constantly attempting to get their hands on the Book of Dragons. Or just Hiccup himself, specifically because the knowledge they held about training dragons was something they knew they could use against Burke. And in the 9 Realms, the main fucking character does it willingly because he seriously can't think of a different, non-catastrophic solution to the problem he caused? What the hell is happening? So anyways, Tom teaches the villain of the show how to fly and manipulate dragons because he's a dumbass and still almost gets himself killed. And then Buzzsaw almost gets himself killed.
Oh no, take us off! Ah!
Guys, this is what dying feels like.
Bigger problems.
Gonna catch me riding dirty.
But Tom managed to steal the whistle and the Timberjack flies away with Buzzsaw, who we definitely won't be seeing again after he takes what Tom taught him and manipulates the dragons for his own gain. Definitely not.
But I think you've actually got a pretty good handle on this leadership thing after all.
Does the writing team behind Dragons: The 9 Realms actually get aroused by incorporating unearned payoffs? Just asking. I cannot think of another reason why there would be so many this season. If it weren't for Eugene and the others intervening despite the kids doubting him, Tom would have fallen to his death. I am fucking repeating myself at this point. So yeah, everything's fine, but then we get more conflict at the very end of the episode with Olivia because she suddenly spawned a brain and realized that her son is lying because he said he was out shooting with his drone, but the drone was at their dome all day, so what the fuck ever. This episode had its hilarious moments, but none of them were intentional, and in the so bad it's funny category, it goes to the bottom because it's still just as infuriating as the rest of the season, which is thankfully almost over. Episode 5 is titled The Nightlights Part 1. I wonder what the characters are going to find in this final two-parter. The episode starts off with Tom and Thunder in the ice realm flying into the sun. Underground. And what do you know, they find more of Buzzsaw's traps because apparently murdering him was never an option. Although I have no doubt Alex volunteered. That girl is a badass and we all know she'd be the one to do it.
Okay, that's dark even for me.
You want to do the honors?
Oh, so you could blast through the— You know, I'm starting to think that all the constant script fuck-ups and continuity errors in this show is actually the writing staff's way of sending Morse code for, please send help. We've been working without food or breaks for 3 weeks straight. The Universal Overlord says that if we don't get these seasons out on time, they'll turn us into lampshades. And after destroying the cage, they hear a noise which prompts Tom to take out his finished Harry Potter wand we have not seen or heard of since season 3, but I guess it's complete.
Is that what I think it is?
Yep, they just happened to stumble upon Thunder's little sibling by pure coincidence. Remember how the entire second season was Thunder actively searching for them? Well, now it just kind of happens. Okay. So they take the baby back to the dragon lair and fawn over its inbred cuteness, I guess.
Hold on a sec. His family is Thunder's family, right?
Okay, so that's another thing. The title of the final two-parter is The Nightlights, right? So I'd originally written a whole spiel about how they never actually say the term nightlights and how funny it was that the episode was named after something the characters didn't even know about. And they're never shown translating the book, so I assume they just forgot about it. But upon editing this, I found a snippet of D'Angelo using their canon species name.
Baby nightlights are fast!
Excuse me, what?
So did they translate the book and it was just done off screen? Do they know about Night Furies and Light Furies now? Does that mean they also translated all the shit about the original character's history and were just never shown this? Are you fucking kidding me? John, I know you watch my reviews and this is a genuine question because either them translating the book was supposed to be implied or it wasn't. Although it's actually pretty likely that they haven't translated the book at all and this was just a massive writing fuck up on the staff's end. And the reason I believe that is because it's already happened once this season. In the worst 22-minute excuse for television entertainment in history, where Tom just straight up refers to the giant mist twister as a Titan Wing.
We have to help the Titan Wing!
Which was a term used in the original franchise.
Titan Wing monstrous nightmare? Come on!
And considering it's confirmed Tom hadn't translated the book at this point in the season, it is literally just a massive fuck up. Or maybe the ghost of Hiccup was whispering in his ear or some shit. I don't even care at this point. What I'm trying to get at is this needs to be explained. But even before they unlocked the box and discovered the book, it was always pretty hilarious to me the lengths this show would go to avoid calling dragons previously associated with the franchise by their given species names. But they'll strategically give species names to all the new dragons the Nine Realms introduces, despite the characters obviously not having any way to know that there's a delineation. Which, sure, it's good that they aren't trying to overwrite the original classifications, but it also doesn't make sense within the context of the show. Is that seriously where the producers drew the line of disrespect? We'll shit on the entire moral lesson of movie 3 and pull one of the most disrespectful, uncalled for stunts with something precious to the fans in the final episode. But renaming the species? That's too far. But anyways, the kids go back to the base and get food and supplies for the baby, but Olivia catches them and starts getting suspicious.
Where are you guys going with all that stuff?
Oh, we're going
birdwatching.
Okay. Be home by curfew.
I'm sorry, I'm just imagining a scenario in which Tom actually died in the 1 million times that's almost happened in this show. And when Olivia hears the news, she says, "How could I have seen this coming?" You're a sorry-ass, pitiful excuse for her mother. And that's coming from me. Back in the Ice Realm, Tom decides to let Shadow— oh yeah, I forgot to mention they named it. They let Shadow lead them in the hopes he'll bring them to Thunder's lost family.
Nobody wants me to be the leader, but you're all cool with following a baby.
Yep, totally accurate.
I never got the baby thing either. Cute, but useless.
Alright. So remember earlier when I said this? So yeah, once I finished episode 2, I had zero inkling that they were actually pushing a romance between these two, and it was meant to be strictly platonic. And I will leave the biggest pin in the world in that until a short but insanely suggestive moment in a later episode obliterates everything I just said. Will someone please explain to me what that was supposed to be? Are they pushing an Alex and Eugene ship? Was I just completely wrong with my very in-depth analysis of episode 2? Because if so, what the fuck? Alex is 15! Eugene, you finally earned my respect enough to stop referring to you as James Charles. Are you seriously going to make me do this? I was so genuinely thrown off guard by this creepy insinuation that I went looking for Eugene's canon age and couldn't find it. We know that he's June's older brother, and he's never been depicted in school with the other kids, so as far as I knew, he was like 19. But Audrey, what do you mean you don't know his age? The Dragons wiki says he's 17. And yeah, you're right. The wiki does say he's 17 now, doesn't it? Because they're referencing John Telligan's reply to my tweet asking for Eugene's age when I couldn't find it. Which, fine, 17 in Eugene years is a less creepy age gap, but why do I get the sense his age wasn't actually established until fans started to look at the man sideways for giving a 15-year-old these eyes in reference to babies?
Whoa, hold on, pal. We're just gonna jump in some hole?
That's like 90% of what you idiots do. Also, of course, Shadow leads them to a new realm. The Shadow Realm. And they start finding booby traps that they determine are meant to keep humans away, including arrows lined with what is implied to be the refined dragon root from Race to the Edge, but I'll get to that later. Yay! Another sunlit realm set underground. And if you thought one edition of inbred grossness wasn't enough for this episode, then hold on to your seats for this next part. Ew, what the fuck? Ew, they look nasty! What the hell?
They're beautiful, pal.
I don't think so. Oh my god, they look nasty! I mean, if the only descriptor the art director was given happened to be the word inbred, bolded and in all caps, then sure. Fucking A+. Even the babies. I get they were supposed to look like kittens, but even by cat standards, they're ugly. You wanna know what a cute kitten looks like? Are you guys ready to get into some fuck shit territory? Strap in. Do you guys remember my huge rant from the previous review that was just me pointing out what a big middle finger the Nine Realms is to not only the franchise in whole, but specifically the message of the third movie? Like, fuck Hiccup choosing for humans to keep their distance from the hidden world in order to keep dragons safe. Let's insinuate they changed their minds immediately following the credits so it fits our crummy narrative. Well, despite all of that disrespect towards the message of the third movie, this final two-parter still has the audacity to rip it off.
Thunder's home.
Yeah, I thought that would make you happy.
I did too. But what if he chooses to stay?
Are you actually kidding me right now? Oh, but of course, there's no time to think about that because there's a big daddy nightlight, I guess, and humans are a big no. Not that I blame the inbred freaks of nature for being skeptical. Look at these monstrosities. If I were the wild nightlights and I hadn't seen humans in 1300 years and I saw this, I would kill all of them and then myself. But apparently this dragon is called the Elder Nightlight, and the only reason I know that is because it is mentioned one time, and it also is in this very odd How to Train Your Dragon family tree video Peacock uploaded recently, where it doesn't tie a direct connection between Hiccup and Tom being descendants, but heavily implies it, even though we already fucking know that they are, because everyone fucking knows already. But I am seriously questioning this video's authenticity considering they can't even spell the characters' names right. But that's par for the course for DreamWorks at this point, so what the hell. Anyways, Tom fucks things up once again because Shadow grabs grabs his Harry Potter wand and accidentally beams the Elder Nightlight. This is literally the first time we see it used, and it's already fucking everyone over. Imagine that. Hey look, death and destruction because Tom's an idiot.
I won't hurt you!
Anyways, everything's fine, but Thunder has to stay with his family.
You're where you belong now. You're the best friend I've ever had.
Alright, it's no question anymore. The writers for this show get off on unearned plot lines. I can hear them ejaculating all the way from my room a year in the future from when they put this on paper. Maybe this callback to the Hidden Worlds ending would have fit better if the story of the Nine Realms mirrored Hiccup and Toothless's story, even slightly up until this point. You know, like I said it should have in my review of the first fucking season. But no, instead they just want to invoke the same emotional reaction audiences had to that scene in movie 3 without understanding why that scene works, even remotely. Does anyone really give a fuck about the relationship between these two? Thunder and Tom have had literally no bonding moments in like the last 14 episodes. Why should I care? Is it because they're like Hiccup and Toothless were in the original franchise and I should love them because they remind me of Hiccup and Toothless? Because they don't. Are you guys starting to see that that's the deception of this show? Using nostalgia from the original franchise to avoid actually having to do any work and make these new characters relatable? You fucking greedy assholes. But I certainly hope this doesn't put my viewers down because that's why I'm here. But let me puff out my chest and shout it so DreamWorks will hear me. Nobody is falling for it. The reason the original franchise was so amazing is because they didn't treat their audience like they're stupid. Maybe you should take some notes, Nine Realms. Because if you had, I might actually feel some type of emotion during these final 2 minutes, aside from anger. But you'll be happy to know that you have fully convinced me. Yes, I am certain, absolutely certain, that Tom is permanently saying goodbye to Thunder in the final 2 minutes of the second to last episode of the season. Wait, what's that? They have to turn around and go back to Thunder's family less than 60 seconds after leaving? Did not see that coming. Episode 6 is titled The Nightlights Part 2, and it is the 4th season finale of the Nine Realms. And it's also the first episode in the Nine Realms history to bring me physical pain. Yes, that includes the nightmarish journey to the Snowcano. If experiencing that episode felt like the meanest girl in school punching you in the face, only for her to run to the principal and tell them that you were the one who started it, and because everyone likes her more, you're the one who gets in trouble, watching The Nightlights Part 2 is like going home immediately after that and walking in on your mom sleeping with her brother. One is rage-inducing and unfair, but the other makes you want to curl up in a ball and gouge out your eyes to relieve the pain. And speaking of inbreeding, Shadow leads the kids back to the Nightlight's nest, and this is what we see. Content warning, terrifying images to follow.
What is this place?
This must be where they lived.
I am not exaggerating when I say that I just had to take a 45-minute walk since my last line in this voiceover to recover from having to look at this still frame in the edit. So we have the we have the Haddock family, I think. Like, John Telligan just really wanted to self-insert as Hiccup. Astrid and Zephyr look like the Mandela Catalog Jesus. Toothless looks like he's about to tie me to my bed and skin me alive. What happened to Nothing? Oh my god, Nothing looks like he was hit by a truck. But that's not all.
What is this thing? An old Viking shovel?
No fucking comment. So they find Thunder and the other Nightlights and see that they were attacked by a dragon by finding a tooth they don't recognize, the dragons being snow wraiths. I'll get to that in a minute. Meanwhile, Olivia exists and has been going through Tom's shit to figure out what he's been doing while away for the past however long she's been neglecting him.
Yo, what up, ponies and bronies? Leo the brony back again Today I'm gonna show you how to get maximum pleasure from your My Little Pony plushie toy. She's missing a limb, but that's unrelated. What you want to do is get like a knife. The sharper the better, of course. Like you'll notice there's stuffing inside, and you can't really penetrate that much when the stuffing's in there. Use lots of lube, and you could get in there really easily.
Back in the hidden world, we get our third movie fake out. Until, of course, the group is attacked by the snow wraiths, which you'll remember from Race to the Edge as a dragon who has thermal vision for hunting in cold climates. And they're all chased away, although I'm left to question why the snow wraiths in particular are the big final boss dragons this season. Wasn't the whole point of introducing the squirrel as an enemy to Nightlights in Season 2 leading to something like this? I mean, it's very likely that'll still happen in the future, but I just find it strange how many dragon adversaries they're introducing just to do absolutely nothing with.
I know what you're gonna say. It's not my fault. No, it might very well be your fault. Or maybe it's my fault. Or June's.
Yeah, let's go with that last one and call it a day. And while they develop a plan to get the snow wraith back to the ice realm and away from the Nightlights, Sled Bitch is sus of Olivia for no reason.
You know what? I'll go with you. I could use some fresh air myself. Any particular direction you'd like to walk?
And instead of just following her around because she's the head of the operation, I'm pretty sure, she enlists Linda to stalk her.
Target acquired. Eagle is on the move heading through Rigtown toward the perimeter.
Good. Whatever you do, don't let her see you. And don't lose her.
And then lie to Chief Baker when she's caught doing this? What the actual I don't even know what's happening anymore. Back in the hidden world, Tom's idea is to get the snow wraith to walk through the booby traps from earlier, except I guess they rigged it so the dragon root is on a snow wraith tooth that gets launched at the dragon and is big enough to impale its wing. It's not explained where they got the excess dragon root to coat this tooth with, but okay. It doesn't end up mattering anyways because there's a second snow wraith that appears and pulls the tooth out and suddenly the first is fine, which is not how refined dragon root works whatsoever. In Race to the Edge, it took the dragons hours for the dragon root to leave their systems. But why should the 9 Realms know that? It's not like this show is the successor of Race to the Edge or anything. Oh, it is? Well, maybe someone should let the showrunners know that, because every season it seems like they forget. So after the snow wraiths return to the new realm to continue the battle, Tom and the Elder Dragon come up with a plan, I guess.
It's chow time!
You cannot look me in my big, stupid, cyberpunk purple eyes and tell me this is not a Harry Potter wand. And why is he riding the Elder here? Because he's more powerful? Don't you think you'd be more maneuverable on a dragon you're familiar with? Oh, that's right. I keep forgetting. Tom doesn't have the mental capacity to think. Nope, I'm done. I'm fucking done. I'm done. I'm done with this show. I'm done with this fucking review. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck this fucking show up its own stupid ass. It's over. It's done. There's no coming back from this. There's no saving it. This show is shit. It's over. I don't even want to watch the rest. Someone, somewhere, who is contracted by DreamWorks Animation, the studio behind one of the most prolific animated franchises of all time. That someone needed a fun, climactic moment for the season finale. And that person thought to themselves, I know, let's have Tom Fuckboy Cullerson steal Hiccup's millennium-old prosthetic leg and then feed it to a dragon, destroying what could be the last physical remains of Hiccup Haddock in the entire canonical universe. And that person told that idea to other people. And those other people said, hey, that's a great idea! And then it was written in a script, delivered by a talented voice actor, animated, rendered, and I paid a streaming service money to watch it happen. And that is, perhaps, the greatest travesty of all.
No, know what that thing was, but thanks to whoever made it. Thanks, pal.
Where the fuck have you been? There is no reason Thunder was away for all of that, but sure, I guess. And would you look at that, everything's just fine. But then, guess what, everyone? We get a third hidden world fake out ending. Except this time, Thunder decides to stay with Tom, and everyone says goodbye to the gross looking baby nightlights that have nothing in their brains. I mean, whatever will we do without Shadow, Goggles, and Splattertail? If you're wondering where I got those names from, take a wild fucking guess. Yeah, I wasn't kidding earlier when I implied that pretty much the only way to get understandable lore from this show is through John Telligan's Twitter. I think that man has dropped more information about the Nine Realms world building in bouts of less than 280 characters than any form of world building in the actual show. I mean, look at all the shit he's had to clarify. The fact that Alex built the dragon saddles, but he didn't think it was compelling enough to write in, and the throwaway line explaining it was cut for time, the names of the nightlights, and he says that snow dragon from earlier is called a Yeti wing. Not to mention Eugene's age and the fact that the nightlights are canonically inbred? Although a majority of his responses are just a lot of keep watching and maybe just wait and see, which is kind of a side effect of responding to basically every question thrown at him that he definitely cannot answer without getting into legal trouble. But anyways, the kids fly out of the King Realm? Look, I get that people keep yelling at me to leave the title of the show alone because obviously it means there are going to be 9 definitive dragon realms by the end of the show, but the reason I've been so critical about the title otherwise not making sense is because shit like this is never conveyed in the episodes. We're 4 seasons in and so far we have crystal, fire, and ice. That's it. I'm assuming this is part of the bioluminescent realm, and if the episode description is anything to go by, then this is obviously the King Realm. If they called it that because this dude ends up being the alpha dragon inherited from Toothless or some shit, you bet your ass I'm saving that 20-minute rant for a future review, because that's a mess of a concept in and of itself. But also, the only reason I suggest these names is because Dragon's Legends of the Nine Realms is a thing, and I had the misfortune of playing it.
Tom, shut your fucking mouth! Why do you have to narrate everything? Are you gonna narrate you shaving your fucking ballsack after this?
And while the game can legitimately not be canon in any fashion given the elements of the show, it gave us a bit of context to the realms, but there are only 5 locations in the game, and I have no clue how they'll tie into the show in the future. But take that information and do what you want with it. Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We finally made it to the end of the season. And what do you know? They defeated the boss dragons, Thunder's family is okay, everyone's happy as can be without any context of the show's overarching narrative being solved in any fashion. But who cares, because nobody got hurt.
Tom?
What? This season left on a cliffhanger with actual stakes and potential for conflict for once? I'm actually shocked. And I will say this is a point I was leaving out of the stuff I liked section so I wouldn't spoil it, but I'm genuinely impressed that they finally broke out of the cycle of ending every season the same way. And not by way of them fighting a big boss dragon and everyone coming out unscathed, because that's more of a convention of fantasy kids shows, it's fine. But the fact that they've been leaving us on Tom's ancestral heritage cliffhangers every single season thus far has been crazy. Especially considering that now they have all the information they could ever need at their fingertips, but just decide not to actually examine it for some reason. That's still fucked. And this is also not to say that this cliffhanger is compelling within the context of this story in any fashion, because everyone knows Olivia is going to help them keep the secret. If Sled Bitch had been the one to discover them, then we'd have an interesting story. And we'd also probably take advantage of that murder plot. But at the very barest of minimums, something is going to happen next season as a result of this. The story is going in a forward motion rather than collapsing on the ground and seizing for once. There is, once again, potential here. But I have said that a million times at this point, and look where we are. Is it fucking done? Did I survive? Holy shit, you guys. I can only describe how I feel right now is how Jack Nicholson's character probably felt at the end of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know, after they strapped him to a table and electro melted his brain. And now that we have the entire plot of season 4 out of the way, let me tell you about the worst, most disappointing aspect of all. No, I haven't even gotten to it yet. I apologize. My biggest issue, aside from literally every second of Snowcano, is this particular line in the Nightlights Part 2.
This must be where they lived.
This, in conjunction with finding the mural and Hiccup's leg, leads me to believe this story will go in one of two ways. Either it will be implied that over time, Hiccup's direct ancestors hid the dragon information throughout the hidden world as the generations went on and knew Burke as a civilization faded, and through that course of events, the secrets were simply lost with time. Or what I unfortunately believe to be the more likely course of events, Hiccup, Astrid, and their family either permanently or for some period of time receded to the hidden world to stake out, hide the clues, establish this layer of nightlights, and just exist down there, which I hope I don't need to reiterate would be obliterating the message of movie 3. I highly suspect that it's the latter. The booby traps set in the New Realm are certainly reminiscent of Zephyr and Homecoming, and why else would Hiccup's prosthetic be down there? And I have to say, to John, or to whoever's behind the meat of this storyline in particular, if it is going to be revealed that these predictions are true in any capacity, that Hiccup reversed his moral decision in movie 3 solely for the sake of your show having a cheap, unfounded tie-in to the original franchise, one that only exists so legacy fans would pay more attention to it, if any of that is even remotely true, I have to say, as a fan that has spent over half of my life loving this story to no end, that is tremendously disappointing. Of course, all of this is speculation. I could be wrong in both my theories. I can try to predict what this show will turn into as the seasons go on, but I only know so much, and even though they have given me every reason not to, I choose to believe that someone who spent so many years dedicated to the OG franchise wouldn't do something like that. I am quite literally begging John Telligan to prove me wrong here. People who are critical of my views on the show tend to share a common complaint, that I'm ignoring the point in Hiccup's ending monologue where he says that one day the world will be ready for the dragon's return, and the Nine Realms' existence is simply exploring that reality. But that's where they aren't looking at things from the correct angle, because even though I do believe that a modern-day dragon show wouldn't have worked in any capacity, it isn't Tom's journey or the course of events that led humans to rediscover dragons that I can't stand. It's the assault on Hiccup's story that troubles me. The idea that the Nine Realms would retcon and tweak the message that the original franchise spent 12 years meticulously building just because they're too lacking in their own creativity to think of something substantial for a modern setting in this universe is frankly the lowest of the low, and I take serious issue with it. And I will be the first to admit that when the Nine Realms debuted, I was far more caught up with the lacking animation and overall technical quality than I probably should have been. While these problems were no doubt a drop from the previous dragon shows I've spent years invested in, it's become more and more clear that these issues were truly out of the creative team's control. And producing something like it in the midst of a global pandemic in and of itself would be impressive. I mean, aside from that black character turning white. How the fuck does that even happen? But my point is, it's becoming abundantly apparent that the show, while a technical drop in quality from its predecessors, does not have the creative means to make up for its shortcomings. If it did, they wouldn't be leaning so heavily on the foundation of the original. Or they would at least be doing it in a way that's reflective or paying homage to the original story in a respectful way. But the way they do it here is just insulting, waving their fingers in our faces saying, "Oh, well, we can't say for sure if Tom is related to Hiccup. You just gotta keep watching our show and giving our streamers money to find that out. Don't you want to know more about the characters you've loved for over a decade now? Well, you'll have to keep watching our show to find out." But who knows? It's condescending in every regard, and their sheer unwillingness to commit to even a single streamlined plot is just more and more infuriating with each season. Needless to say, I am very rapidly approaching the point where I have zero respect for this show, or anything they attempt to do within the How to Train Your Dragon universe. And if I'm getting to that point, you can only assume what an overwhelming majority of the Legacy fans feel as well. And keep in mind, I'm one of the rare few who watch the show. I know a lot of Legacy Dragons fans, and the sheer amount who simply refuse to even watch Dragons the Nine Realms because of how disrespectful they believe it to be to the original franchise is staggering. If you're someone who finds some unique enjoyment or even novelty in the Nine Realms, I can't and would never dream of taking that away from you. That would be like the original book fans telling me that my love for the film universe is invalid. It's just a difference of taste, and nobody should be shamed for that. But again, the tie-ins to Hiccup's story are gradually becoming more and more disrespectful to its origin, and all we can do now is hope this show scrounges up whatever decency it may have remaining and make things better going forward. But I swear to God, if anyone mentions the events of Snowcano to me ever again, I will tape you to a chair and force you to watch season 4 on repeat for the length of time it took me to make this video. Nobody deserves to endure that.
And that concludes yet another review of Dragons the Nine Realms. I have to say that at this point in the timeline, I have no concept of how many seasons this show is ultimately going to have, but I can't imagine it'll be more than a month or two once this video goes live that the next season will be out. But anyways, it's time for me to react to some of the comments left on the last season review. You guys had a lot to say, and I do not blame you. This person is essentially proving my point that there's no way Tom could have forged that lightning sword by just heating it up in the lava. It's actually pretty funny how minimal it's used in this new season. It's almost like they were hoping the audience would have forgotten about it just long enough to where they can bring it in and no one questions how it went from a hunk of metal to a Harry Potter wand. But it did not work because I exist to point these things out. Try again, DreamWorks. Assistant editor here, the audio being out of sync is a major oversight that we constantly have to look out for and make sure that they aren't present in the released episodes. Normally episodes are reviewed by the editor and the director, reviewed by the director and the producer, if they have the time, the editor as well, and before they are uploaded to be released, they are also reviewed by the assistant editor to make absolutely positively sure that there are no major fuck-ups for when it's released. That just shows how low effort all this is. If you cannot even get the fucking basics right. I completely agree, of course, the sync error in the last season was ridiculous, but I kind of stopped being surprised about all the major animation errors in this show after they had a character literally change races in season 2. I mean, if the Nine Realms holds a spot in my memory until my deathbed, it'll be that scene because it's so nonsensical and just iconic. So we all agree that Tom's mom and that one evil chick totally had a thing going on between them, right? I debated talking about this in the last video, but after this new season, the tension that they're trying to build between Olivia and Sludbitch, I don't think they realize how sexual it comes off.
You know, clearing my head. It's been a long day.
You know what? I'll go with you. I could use some fresh air myself. Any particular direction you'd like to walk?
It kind of reminds me of movie 3 when Dean had to go on record saying that Snotlout was not trying to fuck Hiccup's mom the entire movie. He was just trying to be her favorite student or something to that effect. But even if that is true, they certainly left a lot up to interpretation because that's not how anyone took it. Tom and Alex would actually be cute because they'd literally be the reverse Hiccup and Astrid. Alex would be Hiccup because the brunette nerd and Tom being the blonde jock. He's not completely like a jock, but he has jock energy. This is really what I've been saying since I first brought up what a great couple they would make, which I get it. Alex does not need to be a love interest to be important. She's still the best character on her own. But assuming there's 100% going to be forced romance in this show at some point, her and Tom would make such a better pairing than literally anyone else for this reason exactly. Yeah, it's a trope for the shy character to get with the adventurous, extroverted character, but there's a reason it's done so often, and it's because it works so well. It would be a diamond in the rough of this show if it were to happen, although I don't think it's going to, because Tom's voice actor has essentially alluded to the fact that Tom and June are gonna get together in certain interviews that he did, and the voice actors wrapped up the remainder of their recordings for this show over the summer, I believe. But it's also not like the showrunners are oblivious to the fact that a majority of the fans are rooting for Tom and Alex. I would say that they're probably not too happy that that's the fan response, but they are surely aware of it at this point. And finally, major shout out to Rainer Bazzi, the biology student that confirmed in the last video that purple eyes while possible, are always linked to albinism or an eye infection. My eyes are burning all of a sudden and my anxiety is spiking, so I'm gonna wrap this up. If you've made it this far in the video, you deserve a huge thank you. Making these reviews takes a lot out of me, and I try to state my opinions as accurately as possible, which is why they take so long to produce. But it's worth it to get to interact with so many people in the Dragons fandom, and just across YouTube in general. Another reminder to not harass or go after any of the showrunners involved, or people who defend the show for that matter. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, and people who enjoy the show are just as justified in doing so as me hating the show. And those people should be able to express their opinions publicly without fear of being harassed. With that said, please check out my newest video with Richard Hamilton. You know you want to see Canon shirtless hiccup, and now there's nothing stopping you. But still, hashtag release the fire tides. Happy New Year, you filthy hooligans. I'll be off drinking yak nog until I die of food poisoning. It's actually a really poetic way for June to go, if you ask me. Oh my god, I ordered these from some sketchy Malaysian company, and I can just imagine the infection I'm about to get. Like, my eyes are already fucked from the show making me go partially blind almost a year ago, which is still a problem, thanks for asking. I feel fixed.